This is the Tri-State Time Machine, brought to you by Alex R. White, PLLC, at SueDistractedDriver.com. Each week, your host, Vanessa Hankins, and her guests share memories and stories about the past, the present, and the future of the Tri-State area. That's West Virginia, Kentucky, and the Ohio areas. If you used to live here, or you currently live here, you're going to catch yourself saying out loud, "Wow, I remember that." Now, here's Vanessa.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Tri-State Time Machine. We're excited to be back. We're on episode 3. Yeah, you're counting that right. 3. I've made it 3 successful. This is my 3rd successful episode, if it all goes well. Hoping that it does. I think it will. We're here with Josh Garnes, and we are talking the Frederick. Josh, how are you?
Doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on your show.
I'm excited. You worked in the Frederick, so...
Yes, I actually had a little storefront in the Frederick. So, it was like right beside of St. Mark's.
Yeah, we got to small talking about that, so I thought that Josh was going to be the perfect person to have on for this episode. We're going to talk about some crazy facts, and Josh doesn't know any of these facts, so I think it's going to be pretty cool to share them with him. I'm pretty mind-blown by these. I've read them, I've wrote them, I've reread them and rewrote them a million times. Josh can attest I have about 1 million pieces of paper here in front of me. Did not want to mess this episode up, didn't want to mess the numbers up. So the Frederick Building, built in 1906, built by the Central Realty Company of Huntington, named after George Frederick Miller. He was the chief financier and promoter, which that's just a fancy way of saying he was the manager of the project. It was designed in neoclassical style by Edwin Alger and James Stewart. I didn't know what neoclassical style was, so I had to look that up. I didn't know, Josh, if you know what that is.
I don't know what that is either. I'm not into architecture, so.
It's basically super classy is the way I take it. Super, super classy. And everyone that knows that's been in the Frederick, it is exactly the same way that it was in 1906, with the exception of a few color choices that are different. The marble was shown in the lobby, but other than that, everything's the same.
The chandeliers are a little bit different, right?
Chandeliers are updated, and there is actually a fireplace, too. I'm glad you said that. There's a fireplace that was added to the lobby.
John Hankins added those, right?
Yep, John added those. And that fireplace is super cool. It's got a whole other story. We'll talk about that on another episode, but doesn't really fit in this one. But
it reminds me of like an old hunting lodge look.
Yes,
know?
that's very
like
John
from
Hankins.
like the 30s or something.
Yes, that's very John Hankins.
Yeah.
And if anybody hears any panning or any barking, maybe we'll see what happens. But we've got who here with us, Josh?
His name is Banjo. He's my puppy dog, and he's panting right now, but he's 10 years old today. So I thought I'd take him on a
birthday
everything I'm doing adventure today. So
birthday excursion. Well, we're happy to have you and Banjo with us.
Thank you.
Okay. Take a wild guess at how much it cost in 1906 to build the Frederick Building.
I used to know this.
Pull that memory bank.
I'm thinking like 1.5 million.
So you think that in today's money?
No, not today's money. That was what they paid then, right?
Okay, so it was $400,000 to build it.
I said 1.5, so I was up three
You
times.
were up 3, yeah. So, but that doesn't take into account $100,000 that was only the furnishings. So I mean, you weren't way off.
It was double
way
without
off.
furnishings.
But today's money, that would be $14 million to build that if we were to build it again today. And again, like I just said, that was an additional $100,000 of just furnishings that were all from Chicago. Everything was brought in by railroad cars, which I thought was really, really cool. All the shopping that they did for the furnishings came that way.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was super cool. It was said to be the most elegant hotel between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, and at the time of its building, it was the second largest structure. Second to, can you guess what other structure in the state?
In this state?
Yeah.
Wasn't the West Virginia building, was it?
No, it was the state building, like the Capitol itself.
Oh, okay. When did they build the West Virginia building? I don't know. I guess it had to have been after then. So,
yeah, absolutely, since it's the biggest. Yeah. And take a wild guess on how much the rooms were to rent.
No clue.
Anywhere from $1 to $4. Which I did the math, and it's really crazy because I was thinking it was going to be something outrageous in today's money. That's only $34.90 to around $160.79 in today's money.
Yeah, that's
so
pretty cheap.
Yeah, really cheap. Like you can't get a hotel for that anymore unless you are definitely taking bed bugs home with you and maybe having someone knocking on the door selling you some drugs, right? So I thought that was pretty crazy in today's money that was such a big discrepancy in what I would assume a hotel like that for its time would have cost.
So I wonder what a basic hotel would have cost then. That would have been like pennies then.
Oh, now I have something new to look up.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, pretty cool. Anyways, let's talk about the basic facts of the Frederick. What it took to build this bad boy. It had over 300 tons of iron. And remember, all this stuff was locally built in the tri-state area, okay? Or made. So 300 tons of iron, 5 railroad cars of glass, 3.5 million bricks that were made in Portsmouth, Ohio, 282 miles of electric wire, 4,000 electric lights, because remember, back then they had glass lights still. So electric lights, 200 telephones, 65 office spaces, 1 bar, 2 restaurants, 2 dining rooms, a billiard room, a Turkish bath, a barbershop, a pharmacy, a variety of retail spaces, a cigar stand, the ballroom, and a shoe shine stand.
So we all know where the restaurant is, but where was the...
2 restaurants, actually.
Oh, there was 2 restaurants.
I found this out after the fact. I've been in this family for years, and I found out about the second restaurant, and it's a whole nother state. We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay,
but,
interesting. I've never heard of that either.
So which one do you want to know where it is? The Turkish bath, you said?
The Turkish bath, any of the other places.
Yeah, so when you come in the building, you go straight, and there's an office space that's directly in front of you when you come in the main doors. You go down through the corridor there, and the Turkish bath was in there, and that was a men's only spa and club.
Interesting.
Yeah, pretty cool for its time.
Never heard of that.
Pretty
and
cool.
It's still
for its
there,
time.
right?
It's still there.
Yep. Interesting.
Still there.
Is it still being used?
Not being
men?
used. Not being used. Could you imagine if we still had something in today's world like that? We do in other countries, but not here in America, right? But yeah, super, super cool that existed there. But that was also, if you don't go down the corridor, that is also where the second restaurant was. That was called the Bonanza Room.
Interesting.
Yeah, pretty cool. Where your office was, from my understanding and from the history that I looked up and read about, used to be a radio talk show location.
What? So I always looked up trying to figure out what was there over the years, and I never was able to figure it out.
I forget the name, and I don't have it written down in front of me, so I apologize, but I forget the name of the radio station, but it was a top 40 radio station.
Interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of people work there over, in the tri-state. It was pretty cool learning about that.
But right before I was there, it was a audio sound place, and then before that, it must have been some kind of clothing place, because it was the shelvings. It looks like shelves from a store that was in there.
Probably old from Wrights, I bet. Space maybe that they used.
I don't know. I'm not,
maybe storage space or something.
That's
Never
did figure that out.
Now, when I go on my excursion to go get some photos for this episode, I'm going to have to go over there and figure that out and ask John, talk his ear off again. So we talked about Central Realty Company of Huntington building this building and what a big deal that it was. But what we didn't talk about is why the Frederick was built. The need for space in Huntington had grown so big that Frederick Miller decided there has to be a nicer place for people to come in Huntington because we're running out of space. We have nowhere because at the time, the railroad was booming. You had down in Westmoreland, like we talked about in the last episode, you had Magazine Avenue. Well, is now Magazine Avenue, but it was an ammunition manufacturer. So all these big machine and industrial companies were existing in Huntington at the time, but there was nowhere for anyone to live because industry had taken over so much of the land.
And there was probably a lot of bigwigs that run these big companies that needed a place to stay. So
that
was
absolutely
definitely a need. Yeah,
so that's why the Frederick came about. All right, Josh, let's talk about some of the well-known restaurants that were inside the Frederick building. We talked a little bit about 21 at the Frederick there briefly in the beginning of our conversations. But what is 21 at the Frederick used to be Papa Catoni's Elephant Walk. Everyone else knows it as Elephant Walk. Have you heard of it before?
I've never heard of Papa Catoni's, no. So,
yeah, pretty
is that
cool.
Italian, I guess? Or?
Yeah, so doing my research, I came across the Papa Catoni's, and I was just like, what in the world? I've never heard of this. But I found some old ads on You Grew Up in Huntington If Facebook page. So shout out to them for a lot of the things that I got to learn about. There's a lot of historians that are participating in that page. Are you on that page at all?
I'm not. I need to get on there.
Yeah, you need to, because they share some really cool posts. And they are some fact checkers. So like you know that you're getting some solid information from them. But the Elephant Walk was actually opened by Bill Ritter, the current president of the realty company that the Frederick was managed at the time, and his friend Jack Jenkins. There was a loophole in liquor laws that they found after 1941 that you could still serve alcohol by the drink.
How long ago did they have it? When did it become
1961.
Oh, 61. Okay.
1961. So they, I guess, in today's world, we know things. Information is at our fingertips. So back then, this is the only thing that I can imagine, is that it took, that gap to decide, what is the need here. And they already had their other restaurants. So they, from my understanding, weren't serving alcohol at all after the Prohibition. So
that's interesting.
So they saw the need here and opened this up, and it was a private club. That was the only way that you could sell it by the drink, was if it was a private members-only club. So pretty cool if you got to go to the Elephant Walk in the beginning, that you had to be a member. It's said that Ritter woke up in the middle of the night and he had the book, The Elephant Walk, laying beside him, and that's how he came up with the name. So after that, when they came up with the name, they went and furnished the space with everything elephant. You've got some photos in front of you. If you would like to describe it to those. And I know that you've been to 21 at the Frederick, which is still the same. So go ahead and describe it to our listeners.
I'm pretty amazed that this stuff has held up since 1960.
Yeah.
But because I don't think it's been redone since. And you got elephants on the walls. The stools around the bar are elephant feet, and you can see their toes. It reminds me of like the area outside of there with the old hunting lodge type look to it. It's got the wood beams on the ceiling, it looks like.
Very manly.
Very
masculine.
What John Hankins actually likes. The whole way. It's yes. If I would think of him actually redoing anything and making it look like something, so he bought something that he actually already.
And he was friends with John at this time, or with Bill. Sorry, with Bill at this time. Him and Bill were friends, which is how he ended up owning the building. But maybe he had some input. I mean, I don't know.
He did,
I'm not saying that he did, but it wouldn't surprise me. They went out and got the finest, most lavish decorations that they could that related to elephants, and it is said that they even brought a baby elephant to the opening.
I read that somewhere too.
Yeah, but there's nothing that says 100% that happened. That's just hearsay.
Yeah, it seems like it would be in the Herald Dispatch or something like that.
I couldn't find anything historical that stated, but everyone from the time period that's still alive swears that he brought in an elephant to the opening.
I still can't believe that everything's the same, because
and it's in great shape. If you've never gone in there to eat, like, even if you don't want to eat, you just want to go grab a drink. I mean, it is the greatest little place to like pull up a stool, sit on the little elephant foot, and just take in the elegance that surrounds you.
And restaurants are really hard on spaces, period, because they have to stay clean them constantly, and just even over the years of cleaning, wears things out. So
yeah, and the bar, like I don't know if you ever sit at the bar, but I mean, it's covered in that leather. I mean, and it's in great shape too. Like, I mean, isn't
the actual bar metal though? Like it's like copper, I think. Yep. Beat copper.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super cool. But so another thing that I found that I thought was really cool about the Elephant Walk is that in 1977, there's an ad that I have, and I'm going to share it on our Facebook page. They had an RV that they named the Elephant Coach, and you could rent it for parties and festivals.
In 1977?
1977, way before its time. Like, that's what food trucks are now, So I thought that was super cool. The Elephant Walk later became Mings. A lot of Huntington people loved Mings. I am not a Huntington native. I've shared that several times on our conversations here on the podcast. But Mings was a Chinese and Polynesian restaurant. It took over the space. It kept all the same decor. It was open 6 days a week for lunch and dinner, and then 4 to 9:30 on Sundays. So 7 days a week that this gentleman who he was kind of headhunted to come in and become a chef here in Huntington, originally for a hotel on Route 60, which is now closed down. It's now the Prestera Center. But the gentleman...
That was a Stone Lodge, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a Stone Lodge. He headhunted him out of Canada and asked him to come to Huntington and be his head chef. Very quickly, he moved in. He opened Mings in the Frederick building, took over the space after the Elephant Walk closed down. And that was in... Let me double check my stuff here. You guys are going to hear my papers because I have so many. That closed in 1964. So, or I'm sorry, it did not close in 1964. It closed in 1973, I feel like.
The Elephant Walk or Mings?
Yes. The Elephant Walk. Yeah. And then Mings came in from, 73. So, because Mings opened up a short time period after in 1980. Again, he was there 7 days a week. This guy didn't take a break. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah, that's...
But this was like the place to be in Huntington. Like, it was kind of like he opened at 6 a.m. and he closed at like 3 a.m.
So he had no life at all.
No life at all. And then when he closed in 1998 there at the Frederick, he moved down to where he originally worked at.
So he was there from 73 to 98?
He was there from 1980.
Or 1980,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, I didn't say 1980, so you're not wrong.
Oh, okay.
I said 73 and then there was a break.
Oh,
so he
gotcha.
opened up in 1980 and stayed there until 1998.
18 years.
Yeah. So, like, I'm picturing me in 1998. I was, like, in third grade on, like, the B team cheerleading squad. And I
was 2 years out of high school.
It's funny the memories that you make.
Wow.
But, yeah, so he then moved to Route 60, and he remained on that in that location, which became the Prestera Center, which was the Stone Lodge, until November 14th of 2009, where he retired for good. And
At the ripe old age of 150.
No kidding, right? Like
he probably looked like it if he didn't.
Well,
if he wasn't.
and like he's a very well aged man. In my research, he and his wife, I think his wife's name was Lisa. She did the front, he did the back, and they worked their butts off.
Is he still around this area?
Well, from my understanding, from my Facebooking, he, as of 3 years ago, he was the neighbor to someone that had commented and still living very well and enjoying retirement.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Super cool. But they were kind of known for their big thing was the poo-poo platter, which I'm like, you really... you going to order the poo-poo platter? But
what is a poo-poo platter? I've
know.
heard of it before.
I've looked. I can't find anything on it.
What is duck sauce? Is it really duck or is it
right?
Poo-poo platter, huh?
Yes, the poo-poo platter is what they were known for. Okay, and then I swear I kept reading it, and I kept reading it in different places, and I'm just like, I just can't with a straight face believe that I would have walked into a place and ordered the poo-poo platter, you know? But what we know, as the 21 Club at the Frederick opened in 2005, it had all the original decor from the Elephant Walk still intact. We talked about that. And also the members-only sign still adorns the door. This confuses people, I think, still today, but it is open to the public. They are very well known for their Cloverton potatoes and their house wine. What is your favorite dish at the 21 Club?
I used to get the ribeye, but I don't think they have that anymore. And then I would get the New York strip, but they had a smoked Gouda and mac and cheese with some kind of like panko crumbles on top.
So good.
I would eat that. I'd eat at least once a week there whenever I had my office downtown. So
lucky you.
Yeah, it was
lucky
great.
You. We just go for like special occasions like anniversaries and birthdays.
Yeah,
you're just having lunch there. Look at you,
Not
fancy
lunch,
pants.
Yeah. That smoked Gouda was good.
You're like, I get off work and I'm just going to go have
I would crave that smoked Gouda. You know,
I mean,
like
it really is the best. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, that was my favorite. When they had the ribeye, it was my favorite, 100%.
What I love about the 21 Club, too, is that, like I mentioned, Mark Cross left everything intact from the Elephant Walk. And like we talked about, it's so elegant in there. It's so masculine. And the energy that it gives off, you feel like you're dining somewhere fancy. You feel like you are
and dining
spending
back
those,
in time.
Yes,
seriously.
You literally step back in time, and you feel like your dollars are worth every bit of it for just the experience,
Have you
let
ever
alone that the food is great.
Have you ever been to the Green Bar? And
Yes.
certain rooms have that feel right there.
Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely.
It's
Which
like you're
is
walking
another
into
little
history.
John Hankins thing.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right, absolutely. Some other things that I wanted to mention, and we didn't talk about them too awful much, were the rooms that were inside the Frederick. And you mentioned the Green Bar, which is what made me think of this. They had a room called the Guyandotte Room. They had a room that was called the Terrace Room, which eventually became the Elephant Walk, which then became 21 or Mings and then 21 Club. They had the Crystal Room, which was a private dining room that you could rent if you were there staying at the Frederick with your family or maybe on business.
Where is that?
I don't know where it was.
We need to find out where all these like cool little historic areas.
I know. I tried so hard to like pinpoint all of this, and I think what I'm going to have to do is just grab John Hankins by the arm and say, "Grandpa, lead me, show me all these places."
And I know he's done a lot of work to these different rooms since he's owned it.
He
in the past.
has,
He had it for 25 years or
Yeah.
so. So he. I wonder if he's found any like cool artifacts like in the walls or like just something that was covered up on the walls.
So funny you ask, and I'm sure you know this, but people that have not been in the Frederick or haven't gone to the 21 Club, John has an entire hallway full of old medicine cabinets, the glass cabinets.
Oh, he found that stuff in here?
So not all, most of that stuff is stuff that he found in the building and
I did not know
has
that.
gathered historically over the years of his ownership and stuff that he's gathered.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I didn't even know that. That's
Yeah.
cool. Especially, I thought he just collected it over the years and just put it on display in the.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's really cool. And then like something that I think is like super awesome is my mother-in-law has some of the furnishings, like the plates that were used in the, I guess what would have been the terrace room that just said Hotel Frederick on them, and the very small scribe on the plates.
Interesting.
Super cool. We have some of the Elephant Walk throwawayable disposable cups in our apartment that we had.
Throwawayable?
Yeah, throwawayable, disposable
cups.
Those are a Vanessa-ism if you ask my husband.
I say weird things like that too when I'm trying to just get it out.
Yeah, Braden says those are my Vanessa-isms. But we still have some cups that were part of the restaurant that we collected just from our random when we lived in college living there. Or when we lived in college. See, there's another Vanessa-ism. When we were in college and wandered around the building. I think another thing worth mentioning is Wright's. I don't know if you ever shopped there, but here and there we got to go in Wright's and pick out Christmas gifts or birthday gifts from John. Did you ever go in Wright's?
I did
clothing
actually.
store?
Yeah, it was. I went there and bought some dress clothes before.
It was the perfect place.
Yeah, it was really neat. I knew a guy that worked there. I can't remember his name, but I guess it doesn't matter. I don't know. I was trying to think if it was an older gentleman.
Oh, I wish Brandon was here so
Yeah.
bad because Brandon knows him by name, age. Like he knows everything about him because they were really good buddies.
He played guitar on like 4th Avenue, 3rd Avenue.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but that's how I met him. And then I actually owned a bar down the street, and he would come in and hang out with me sometimes at the bar I owned. What was his name?
That's super cool.
I can't remember his name. I haven't seen him in a few years, so I was wondering about him the other day. I don't.
Is he not at Wright's now that they've relocated? Have you been over there? Okay.
I've been over there. Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah. Maybe he finally retired.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
That's gonna drive me crazy.
There was a couple older gentlemen there, but there was the owner, I guess, and there was another guy that worked there. So I'm talking about the other guy.
I know we've already talked about Bill, but was his name Bill? Because I think there was a Bill.
It's probably been at least 5 years since I've seen him.
This is gonna drive me crazy.
But I did go buy another suit when Wright's moved over to the new location on 3rd Avenue.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're now on 3rd Avenue.
Yeah, and it was an old gentleman that helped me there too. But I think he was the owner. So
yeah, I'll have to ask Brandon and I'll text you later.
super nice guy. Both of them were nice guys.
Right.
Yeah.
So the hotel closed on July 30th of 1973. It was converted to residential and business spaces. That's how it's continued to use today. We've talked a lot about the here and now. There is so many things like you talked about that when you step back into when you step into the building, it feels like you're stepping back into history. I'm very grateful to be part of this family, not only because they're amazing people, but John Hankins, like you've mentioned, he's put a lot of work and love into the building. He's very very good at the historical aspect of keeping things period correct. I love the work that he's done. I love everything about the history with this family and taking it on. You know,
he has a lot of character, and he adds his touches to everything that he's involved in. So
absolutely,
it's pretty amazing, actually.
Let's talk about your time in the Frederick. We talked at the beginning of the episode about how you had your first location there after you left. What did you say? The mall?
Yeah. I used to have.
Did you tell me that?
Yeah, I used to have a bunch of cell phone accessory kiosks in malls, and then those eventually kind of dwindled away. And my last one was at the Huntington Mall, and somebody had bought out my lease, and I left the mall. And John Hankins came to me and said, "Hey, I have this little spot here that's been open for a while. Would you be interested in renting it out?" And I was like, "Why not?" So
fun fact about John, he was actually the lawyer that brought the mall to Barbersville.
Oh, really?
Know that?
I did not know that. Yeah. So it's his fault? I'm joking.
Well,
I'm joking. That's after Huntington
and
denied
I was
them.
going to say they wanted to be in Huntington, but John said, "Here's a better idea," because he's a Barbersville guy. I don't know if you know that about him or not, but he's a Barbersville guy. They lived in downtown Barbersville. The house that they lived in is still standing that they raised their children in. My husband and his family lived in a house right down the way, and their house has now been torn down and it's a bank. But yeah, he's a Barbersville guy, and he brought them all in. So John approached you.
Yeah, he came to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in?" And he had actually done some legal real estate work for me before.
Yeah.
And he said he had that spot open, and he ended up renting it from him and had my office upstairs, and I had a little storefront downstairs. I mostly did phone repairs, electronics repairs.
Yeah.
And I was there for probably about a year and a half, I guess.
So some crazy things kind of happened to you there. I want to hear a little bit about that because I love these stories the most.
So like I said, the downstairs was a little where I had accessories and just like a little showroom, and then the upstairs was where I actually my office was, and I would fix phones. And there was a big window out front. It was directly across from the Keith Albee, and I would invite. If I was fixing somebody's iPhone, I would say, if you want to come and hang out while I'm fixing it, it'll take 30 minutes, and a lot of
everybody
people
wants to go in the Frederick.
Yeah, and so they would come up to my office and I'd fix their phone, and the first instance of something really weird happened in that place was, I had wooden stairs that went up to my office, and I'm sitting there fixing this lady's phone, and we hear footsteps going up, it sounded like high-heeled shoes or hard-bottom shoes.
Yes.
And it just immediately I thought of a woman, coming up the stairs, and I thought maybe somebody came in. I didn't hear him come through the door.
Right.
And so I was like, hold on a second. Let me go see who's coming. So I ran over to the top of the stairs, and there wasn't anybody there.
So that's your first instance.
That was my first instance.
Creepy things.
I looked up at the lady that was in my office, and I guess she saw the look on my face, and she said, "There's nobody there, is there?"
Oh,
and I said, "No." So
that's when you know it's bad when someone else, you're not the only one.
I just saw I don't know if my facial expression changed or what. So I even went downstairs and looked around. There was nothing. Something else that happened a couple times. I used to have a nice stereo system up in my office, and I would work on phones, and I would usually sell them on eBay or whatnot. And so I'd play music, and I had a TV screen, and I would watch DVD concerts.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd also get phone calls while I'm up there. So I would, turn the music down on the, on the TV.
Right.
Or it would just be playing low.
Everything wasn't on your iPhone at that point in time.
Yeah, it would just be playing low. Yeah, this is like 2011 or so. And my phone rang. I answered the phone, and my surround sound TV thing went all the way to 10, by itself. Yes, that happened twice. So I literally just ran as far away from the speakers as I could get with the phone in my hand.
These spirits were interfering with business.
Yeah. So something else happened too, and the main reason I put cameras in there is because I had bells on the door downstairs, so I would know if somebody came in. I could hear the bells upstairs.
I have to pause you really quick. Those of you that don't know Josh is kind of known for his camera antics. So I love that you've been doing the camera thing and double checking.
Yeah. So this is 2000. Like I said, 2011 or 12 or so. But yeah, I'd installed it. So I would be working at the bells, little brown bells, and they had them on a string on the door. So when you open the door, it would shut and ching,
Right.
So I'd be up there working, and the bells would constantly go off. So I put cameras down there, and actually had my sister work there too for a little bit. And the bells went off so often every day. We would just look at the cameras to see if somebody was really there. And that's a big, heavy metal.
Well, I was going to say
and
the
glass
doors.
door.
The
It's not
doors
gonna
are
move.
heavy,
Yeah.
right? It's not going to move from the wind. Like that's
No.
not happening.
That is not happening. So that was.
So I'll share a funny story. I don't know that I've shared this with you. When I first started dating my husband, he and his sister shared an apartment on the 5th floor, which was down from actually Mr. Bill Ritter's office when he was in the building. And we had been out, because we were in college. We had been out all night, and I wake up to the wall being soaking wet, the mattress being soaking wet, 'cause the bed is like up against the wall in his apartment. And I wake him up, and I'm like, hey, there's a leak. We wake up because he's the maintenance man at this point in time.
Brandon was?
Yeah, he was the maintenance man for his grandfather. So I'm like, there's a leak. We got to go. Let's figure it out, whatever. So we get up, and he feels the wall. He sees the wall. He feels the bed. Everything is sopping wet. You have to go through his sister's her bedroom to get out of the apartment, because this is in like one of the old hotel rooms that they shared. So we had woke up Erica, his sister, and we tell her what we're going to do, whatever, so she sees the chaos of the wetness. And we go get flashlights and all the things, and we go to the top, and we're trying to figure out where this leak is coming from before we can figure out who we need to call in the family to say, like, hey, let's get this fixed. Right. So we get up there, and we're thinking, some kids have gotten in, because that's a big thing. Everyone wants to, like, kind of get in the Frederick and look around, So we thought maybe some kids had gotten in and broken something because nothing seemed out of sorts. We could not find anything broken. We were up there for over an hour. We called Brandon's grandfather. We called John, because John knows everything about the building. So usually you can say XYZ happened, and he can say, oh, it's right at this point. This is where you need to go. This is what room, and he knows it all. So we wandered around. We don't find anything. So finally we go back down to our apartment, or his apartment at the time, and the bed's not wet. The wall's not wet.
Wow.
It's like it never happened. And
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was totally creepy. That was my first, like, creepy thing that ever happened there.
That's like major, too. That's not just like a creak in the night or a door opening. That's like everything's soaking wet, and now it's not.
Yeah.
Huh. What did John say about that? Did you tell him
he just laughs. He laughs.
I say he probably is just used to it.
Yeah, he just laughs. I've never confirmed nor got a denial out of John that he believes in the supernatural. Or the undead, or the unliving. But yeah, he just kind of laughs about it. I can only imagine the things that have happened to him with him exploring the building himself, and with all the history that he knows. Another really cool thing that happened, and I say cool, it was very scary at the time. I was walking in by myself to my now husband's apartment, and the same shoes that you heard, like a high heel, heard it walking down the hall above me, or the wall, Vanessa-ism, heard it walking across the ceiling above me, the floor above me, and very, I knew exactly what it was. It was a woman walking in high heels. And so I told my husband, I was like, hey, I think someone's up on the 6th floor, which at the time there's nothing up there, so no one should be there. And so we go and explore. We can't find anything. We get to the second half, which is like the last unfinished part of the building. It's still exactly like it was from the hotel. Still really cool. We went underneath this light that goes to this little bitty tiny door that leads to the unfinished part. And when you would get underneath this certain light, the light would go out, and it was ice cold. Ice cold every time. Once you get past it, light came back on, you feel normal.
That is weird.
So we sat there for a good 10 minutes, like testing our theory, like that we weren't crazy, that we, and we tried to find whoever was walking, and we never did. I do know that there was a death that occurred on that floor.
What floor was that?
The 6th floor.
Okay.
I knew that there was a death that occurred. From my understanding, I have my personal opinions, but from my understanding, it was an accidental death. But I think there was
what was the story behind that?
There was an office up there, and there was a Christmas party going on in the lobby, and supposedly the wife caught the husband cheating.
I think I heard that story, actually.
Yeah.
A long time ago, but I couldn't remember.
Yes. And the wife ended up dead And I don't want to speak too much on it because, from my understanding, the husband is still living and did not get in trouble
Wow.
for the death.
Oh my goodness!
Right, but
Yeah.
anybody that you talk to,
How long ago did that happen?
I would think it was like the 80s or 90s.
Oh wow! So not that long ago.
Yeah. This wasn't like.
But can you imagine how many people probably died in the building over since
I've heard
1906?
crazy stories about like the staff having children, but like back in the day, like if you couldn't afford a child, people would have abortions illegally and stuff like that. So I've heard like crazy stories of staff having babies. I've heard
there was kids on the second floor running around on the stairs. And
I've heard of the children playing.
I have not. I can't remember who told me that. It might have been Andrea or somebody. But so we would talk about like stories and stuff sometimes. And, But it was kids, and there was. I'm pretty sure she told me that.
Yeah, I think my favorite story, and we'll quit boring you with our spooky stories because not everybody is into this stuff like I am. Everyone knows that I'm like the spooky queen. My sister-in-law, her story, I'll share this for her. Hopefully I get it right and I don't mess it up. Sorry, Erica, if I do. When she was in high school, she was writing a paper, and her mother's office was in the rental office when you first walk in the doors that I told you, the glass doors you walk into. She needed to print a paper and work on her paper. So there was no one here. It was after hours. At the time, there wasn't like the key cards that you could just scan and go in. So you had to like physically open or unlock the door, and lock it behind you, all that. So she was in the office writing her paper, and there was always like elevator music playing over the loudspeaker. Was that still playing whenever you worked here?
I didn't use the elevator, so I was.
Okay. It was everywhere. It played in the lobby.
Yeah.
It played.
So mine was a storefront, so I went in my own door, and then. But
gotcha.
I would come throughout go throughout the hotel sometimes. Just goofing off or going for a walk.
Gotcha. So there was always this music that played, and it was like elevator music, and she said that it just stopped, which was like kind of a deafening thing happening because it's just her there. And out of nowhere, she hears this like gut-wrenching screaming over the speakers. Totally freaks out, unlocks the door, gets out, and she's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I have to have my paper. And Erica's still to this day super studious, super smart. So, that paper is getting done. Ghosts be damned, So she, gets herself together, goes back inside, finishes her paper. But she swears to this day that, that scream was the most terrifying thing she's ever heard in her life. And she said it played over throughout the whole building.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody else was in the building then.
I don't know. That's a good Erica.
Late.
We need to ask the family, did anybody else hear this?
Because if it was over a loudspeaker, whoever,
Right.
There had to have been other humans in here somewhere.
Right. There had to be somebody because there's people living here at that point in time. All right, Josh, let's talk about famous people that came to Huntington, and you are the master of this section.
So just from Google, just a little quick Google search.
The Google,
yeah. It says President Richard Nixon was here, stayed at this hotel. Musician Liberace.
Ooh.
So that would have probably been the 70s or 80s.
Which I was telling Josh a second ago. A lot of people came to do work in the Keith Albee and would stay at the Frederick. There was actually a young girl, I'm trying to find the picture to show Josh, that wrote, she was in a contest, an essay contest of A Day with Liberace, and she won it. And there is a picture, I'm assuming from a newspaper, of her, Liberace, and I think his brother looking at the camera, and it's super cool.
Yeah, we got to find that clipping or whatever it was in. I'd like to see it. Or the newspaper article. Did I say Richard Nixon? Yeah, I did say Richard Nixon. Bob Hope stayed here. And also Sid Hatfield from the Matewan Massacre was arrested here at this hotel.
Ooh, yes. You are the master of the Hatfield and McCoys. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the Matewan Massacre was kind of an integral part in, I guess, U.S. history. And it kind of gave birth to the middle class.
Found the picture.
Yeah,
I'll share it with you guys at home.
Yeah. I guess it kind of gave birth to the middle class because they fought against the mine companies, and that was part of what started the mine wars. And so during the Matewan Massacre, the mayor of Matewan got killed, and Sid actually married his widow 2 weeks after the Matewan Massacre.
Holy cow! No one wasted time back then.
At the Catawba County Courthouse. And some of the last words out of Mayor Testerman's mouth was he said to take care of his wife, but I don't think he meant it like that.
He said, "I'll take real good care of her."
Yeah, he did. Obviously, but I guess he was. There's two different stories why he got arrested here.
Okay.
And I heard he was arrested out front. And the first story is he got arrested because he married Mayor Testerman's widow, I guess, and he presented the wedding marriage certificate, and they let him go.
They released him, yeah.
And there's another story where he had got arrested because of his part in the Maywa massacre. But if that was happened, then why did they let him go?
Right.
So I haven't got to the bottom of that one yet. But
I feel like it would be really hard to pinpoint who did what to who, unless you had people willing to come forward in that time. And I doubt anyone wanted to come forward.
Yeah, there was supposedly during the Maywa massacre, there was supposedly a muffled shot that caused everybody else to start shooting, and then
and
then a bunch of people died.
Everything went crazy.
So yeah, that was pretty wild story. And I think that was in, was it May 19th, 1920? So he would have been here, 2 weeks after that. So that would have been in early June, I guess.
Your knowledge of dates is insane to me.
I just like history, and
I just love that your brain works a lot better than mine does when it comes to numbers.
Yeah.
Josh, another really cool thing that I think a lot of the younger people are going to remember because it was all over the news and it was a really big deal was the We Are Marshall. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I don't know if they're younger anymore because that movie came out in 2006?
I guess that's true. Am I showing my age?
It's been nearly 20 years. It's kind of crazy.
God.
Yeah. So they would have been filming it in 2005, I guess, or 4 or 5, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but they had
right when I started dating Brandon. So, that timeline's pretty accurate.
That's actually when I first moved to Huntington. So
I
drove around and I would drive and see the different filming scenes of that,
Yeah, it's super cool. It was really neat living in the Frederick at the time, which I guess I was like a permanent guest of Brandon's at the time, but they gave us like a time frame that we could and could not leave our apartment because of filming. We talked a little bit about the scene that they were filming. I think we went back and forth on, was that a press conference?
Yeah, it was, I guess, whenever he had taken the head coach position, and they had all the news people, and he did a little speech, and it was in the lobby, I guess, right?
All 5 foot of Matthew McConaughey giving his big speech of coming on and moving to Huntington. It was super cool because I don't think in Huntington we had really had anything like that. They did the big green carpet, they shut down 4th Avenue, all the celebrities came, got out of their cars.
I think they did have one before that, a big movie. It was called The Rain Man. I'm pretty sure they had that there. I forgot about that.
The gentleman that the movie was based on, he's still in Huntington.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew he was from West Virginia, but I didn't know he was from Huntington.
Yeah, he's from Huntington. I see him at Applebee's of all places.
Really?
Yeah.
They also did the premiere for the Hatfields and McCoys on the History Channel, that little miniseries with...
because you were telling me about that from your office.
Yeah, so whenever they were... all getting out of their limos and nice cars. I mean, my office was like literally across the street, and I had a big window, right bird's eye view down on the second floor of all them getting out, and all the pictures you could see my business name, which was Garnes Wireless.
And you're
right
like the master of marketing, so that's even better.
That was Thanks, John Hankins.
Yeah. That's been a really cool thing, I think, about living in the Frederick all these years and having it in the family. Is anytime there's anything downtown, whether it be just a Christmas parade or a movie premiere, we have been able to sneak up in the windows and look down and not have to be out in the weather and kind of get the bird's eye view. And I think that's super cool.
Yeah, that's neat.
All right, Josh. Well, we are super thankful that you joined us today. We're thankful that you brought Banjo. Happy birthday, Banjo. He's been such a great little pupper.
He's a good dog.
He is.
10 years old today.
And he's got all those cute photos on Facebook. If you don't follow Josh, it's a fun time. He shares all kinds of good photos.
He has his own Facebook page too. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Banjo Garnes, yeah.
Okay, well, never mind. Just forget about Josh. Follow the dog.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
All right, thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
All right, you guys at home, we're thankful that you keep joining in, and we look forward to more.
Thanks for listening to the Tri-State Time Machine, brought to you by Alex R. White, PLLC, at SueDistractedDriver.com. If you have a memory you want Vanessa to talk more about, just send her an email at tstm@mail.com. or post a comment on the Tri-State Time Machine Facebook page. Did you like the episode? Be sure to share it with friends and family. It's the only way we can continue this fun work that we do. You can find a link in the show notes that you can use to share it. And be sure to let our sponsors know you like the podcast as well. Their contact information can be found in this episode's show notes.